Deputy Kevin Klein for Mayor Campaign Office. Today, I am committing to improve the well-being of all Winnipeggers by better utilizing the professionals and staff we already have, and by better utilizing the funds we already receive for medical attention, by building on a successful program, and by not allowing personal opinions to affect how we care for residents. Based on an extensive review of other jurisdictions across the country and talks with our very own paramedics, we will implement a program being used successfully in other jurisdictions because I believe there is a reasonable and achievable solution for all of us. Currently, the Emergency Paramedics in the Community EPIC program exists in Winnipeg and has improved the delivery of care in our city. Data shows this, it's unquestionable. Our proposed solution is to enhance the EPIC program by adding Primary Paramedic Response units with the highest trained paramedics in a single response unit who can use the full scope of their training to deliver the appropriate response, the appropriate level of care, and the appropriate destination for patients calling 911. PRP, as I'll refer to it, units, can address both low and high acuity calls and assist in determining the best destination for the best outcomes for our residents. This program will free up ambulances for emergency room transport when needed. Excuse me. It will also allow firefighters to be available to focus on fire prevention and response. As mayor, I will take the funding we already have and redirect it into and build on the primary response paramedic unit services and to further support the transportation of patients to the appropriate destination for further care. Creating a fleet of PRP vehicles that provide a range of services. EPIC is provided funding through the province. We need to direct all the funding we receive from the province to helping care for our residents. We have to use that money for what we're given it for and not move it to other departments. I recognize the work being done to repair the relationship between the firefighters and paramedics. I also recognize that now is not the time to spend the millions and millions to remove paramedics from fire stations. These are internal issues. These are promises being made by candidates that are unreasonable and unachievable. We need to address the issues that we're having and not use the paramedic service and firefighters as a politician's agenda. It's a management issue. It's an HR issue. It's up to us as leaders in the city to address the issue, to make it better, to hear the employees, and to fix the solution. I'm the only candidate that has the experience at a corporate level to deal with these types of issues and HR issues. I've done it before, and I'm going to do it again. I will work with our frontline service providers to determine a path forward to repairing the relationship and providing the appropriate response to the appropriate level of care for Winnipeggers. Internal issues will cost Winnipeggers millions. And as we continue to redirect funds to different sources within our fire paramedic service, we're failing to meet the needs of Winnipeggers. Our proposed solution will eliminate unnecessary visits to the emergency rooms and provide better care for all, as well as help the province by reducing visits to the emergency room. We've seen this in other jurisdictions. It's successful. If we continue to use the same approach or just promise to eliminate the paramedics without the approval of the province or make grandiose promises, we will fail. We're not getting better outcomes. Over the last 22 years, we have not had better outcomes. We must better manage the system based on what's best for residents. Again, not a political agenda. We must reallocate emergency response resources that will increase positive outcomes for Winnipeggers, that will ensure they get the right care. And as mayor, I will take the action to provide appropriate response, the appropriate level of care to the appropriate destination. Partner with the province to provide community-based medical services that will improve the quality of life for all Winnipeggers and provide a more efficient use of both paramedic and firefighter resources in our city. Thank you.
The actual pledge here is to do which?
Can you repeat that for me,
So
Barbara?
your actual pledge is to do what specifically for EPIC?
We're going to build on the EPIC program and introduce a paramedic response units with our advanced care paramedics.
So how, and what was the rough cost of that?
Well, as you probably know, the province pays for full medical services that the city of Winnipeg provides. We are going to redirect some of the funds that are not being used for medical within the fire department back to the paramedic service to increase the care that we are providing to Winnipeggers.
So how, can you put a dollar figure on that?
Well, the dollars are there. So we get full cost recovery and we're paid by the province. So the additional money we put or redirect from the fire budget right now, as opposed to buying a $500,000 fire truck, we could buy a number of SUVs to provide rapid response paramedics.
You know, I'm just asking only not to, I realize that you're saying you want to use existing funds.
Yeah.
I understand that. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how much.
Well, let's talk about it. We have advanced care paramedics now. We probably will add a few. We have the resources today. We're using EPIC today. It's funded by the province through the money that they give to the city of Winnipeg. We're taking EPIC and we're saying, let's make it better. Let's make it more responsive. Let's make sure that we're using the abilities our staff have and we're allowing them to use their abilities. So to say that it's going to cost more money, it would be, I guess, somewhat accurate, but we are already getting the funds.
No, forgive me, I'm not
Okay.
saying. And again, the specific, and forgive me, for the lay people out there, what kinds of conditions is that?
Want to go do take that?
Yeah.
Please start with your name and your.
So my name is Ryan Woyden, and I'm here today. I wear a lot of hats, as you know, and I have been a leader in the paramedic union here in Winnipeg for some time. But today I'm here because I believe that this idea works for Winnipeggers as well. And as a frontline paramedic, which is what I'm here for you to answer questions here today, as a frontline paramedic, this works. And we have EPIC paramedics already in sport utilities that are already very beneficial to the city, and the data proves it. What we're excited about here for this announcement is that we're going to expand on that. So if this program can help save money for Winnipeggers, we'll just continue to build on that so that it expands, so that we continue to provide the data and the positive results that I think Winnipeggers look for.
And please spell your name.
It's Ryan, R-Y-A-N, Woyden, W-O-I-D-E-N.
And again, just for people, what kinds of conditions do you do?
EPIC paramedics right now deal with low acuity calls. So calls that we normally would send a fire truck to and have them possibly in today's day and age, sometimes they're sitting on calls for 2 and 3 hours at a time. And that's just not appropriate for our response here, which is why we like the announcement today, is that it's an appropriate response to the appropriate patient and giving them an appropriate destination. Sending a large fire truck to wait for 2 and 3 hours at a time just isn't appropriate. But an individual paramedic that's highly trained in a sport utility can take care of those low acuity calls. So to answer your question, Bartley, they're low acuity calls. We've been called to people that have headlights. We have people that have an injury that has taken them 3 weeks to realize that it's starting to get worse. So low acuity calls. In our world, we call those CTASs 4 and 5. But really what they are, they're people that don't need an emergency room.
Slightly off topic, but finally this week, what effect is that we see people with very serious medium to high acuity conditions not even bothering to get medical treatment because of the waits. So how does that affect your service?
Well, it affects the service in a very positive way, because when you have single individual paramedics in vehicles, they're not taking up that transporting ambulance. So when you have people saying, I'm having a heart attack or I'm having a stroke and I need an ambulance, we want to make sure that that ambulance is there. And you do that by not sending ambulances on low acuity calls where people don't really need transport.
Is MGU 911 endorsing Kevin Klein?
I have no idea who MGU is endorsing for me. Like I said, today I am Ryan Woyden. I am not a union leader today, but I am somebody that works on the front line and understands what we need.
By your presence on a podium with the mayoral candidate as a union leader, how would
As a city councilor.
surmise that you are not endorsing?
Well, first of all, this is Kevin Klein, a city councilor, and Kevin Klein has talked to me many times over the years, and he understands our problems, and he understands that we need solutions. And so, like I said, I'm here to support Kevin Klein in this announcement, and I think paramedics in this city are going to support it too. I don't think, Bartley, if the question is, I don't think you need a union to tell their paramedics to vote for Kevin Klein. I think a good idea is going to get those paramedics to vote for Kevin Klein.
We have firefighters endorsing the vendor. We have you here.
Let me get this.
With Kevin Klein, is this
I got it.
fraught relationship, the attempts to keep peace between the two working groups over the years? Councillor Klein.
I'm going to grab this, Bartley. I think it's a fair question, and I've said this before. Every time I hear an endorsement, the only thing that I hear in my head is promises made to somebody to get a vote or to get an endorsement. That's all I hear. I am saying to people that I talk to, I don't want endorsements. I want to know what the solutions are. The endorsements that we need, I'm not asking Ryan or the paramedics for an endorsement. I know, as you know, my experience has proven, that we can fix the issues we're having by better managing the issue. So as when it comes to endorsements, everyone knows. It's not a secret. Promises come with that. Promises are made. So let's find out what those promises are made.
You said at the beginning of this conversation, there was somebody was promising to take paramedics out of fire stations. Who is that?
I believe Glenn Murray has promised that, who actually started the whole program. Now he's changing his mind. And Robert Falcon-Ouellette also announced, I believe, yesterday that he would remove paramedics from fire stations.
Forgive me, when did Glenn Murray say that?
I'm not sure. To be honest, I'm not sure. But I know that that's what the fire department union is asking for.
Okay, so what would be the operational danger then in splitting apart the integrated fire paramedic model?
Well, first of all, you have a contract with the province of Manitoba, so you have to do that. Also, it would represent millions and millions of dollars. As I talked about at council several months ago, when we started talking about the issues and we started talking about this $250, $300 million fire plan. And I said at that time, if you're going to immediately take ambulances out of our fire stations, that's not the solution. That's pandering to politics. That solution simply costs us money. And it's simply being made to get votes or to get the endorsement of a group. That's why I'm not looking for endorsements. The only endorsements I need are on October 27th when people click or check off my name when they're voting for mayor. That's the endorsement that's important. Here, what's important is that we don't make promises. And if you take the paramedics out right now, we use the funds we get from the province to pay 50% of the salary for some of our chiefs. We use that money for other services that we are doing as an entire service, Winnipeg Fire Paramedic Service. We need to better manage that money. We need to allow the professionals that we've hired to do what they're capable of doing and get out of the way. We're restricting that. We're restricting that with the internal fighting going on. As opposed to saying we're going to eliminate the fire or we're going to eliminate paramedics from the fire service, why aren't we talking about better care for patients? Why aren't we talking about working with our provincial partners to reduce wait times in the emergency rooms? Why aren't we talking about the reasons we're having issues within the fire stations? And I don't believe that all firefighters or all paramedics have a problem. But I think it's something that has to be addressed from a management level. We need a leader in the mayor's office that is going to stand there and say, let's fix the problem. We're not just going to throw money at it, or we're not going to make a promise that cannot be kept. And that's what's happening in this election. You have so many people running, and everyone wants that headline. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It's not possible. It would take years if you want to get rid of the paramedics. And on council floor, I said it would cost over $20 million because of promises the city of Winnipeg has made to our staff to pay that out, because the province is not going to pay that out. So we have to be reasonable here, and we have to stop making promises that cannot be kept. We have to start talking about what's important, the resident. How do we improve the level of service to residents? My mother-in-law broke her kneecap and waited over an hour for an ambulance. Over an hour. I've talked to other residents of my ward that have waited longer. And that's unacceptable to get the right care. So that's why this works. It's the appropriate response, the appropriate level of care being directed to the appropriate destination by experts, by people that are trained to do that. We need to allow them to do that job, and we need to manage the issues internally. I think the fire department is, some of them are going to be upset by this, but I think if they take the time to sit back and look at what we're suggesting as a solution, that some of them are going to agree with it. They're going to see the value in this. Right now, we need fire departments our fire department out there doing all kinds of proactive work, checking buildings for issues, checking buildings for fire hazards or other areas. That's part of what they do, and they don't have the opportunity to do that. Now, I'm not saying that a fire truck would not respond in all cases. A fire truck has to respond when you have a cardiac arrest. It has to respond when you have major accidents. It has to respond when you have multiple injuries or somebody trapped or somebody who has had a heart attack on a roof. If somebody has a heart attack on a roof, you need a fire truck to respond to that because it's a cardiac arrest, but you also need the equipment to get the paramedics on the roof. So this is just better management. It's unfortunate that we're using the firefighters and the paramedics as simply pawns in a political game. Residents of Winnipeg deserve to have care. They deserve police when they call 911. They deserve the appropriate care with the appropriate response when they call 911 for a medical emergency. And they need to know a fire truck's coming when they call for a fire. And we need to better utilize our resources. I spent 4 years in council, not as a politician, as somebody that came from a corporate world watching and listening and asking the questions. I asked the questions of our fire department, why don't we have more ambulances? Because we could. Funds come from the province, we could, but we redirected it somewhere else. So $500,000, you take the ambulances out, how are you going to fill the fire stations? You going to buy more fire trucks? $500,000 a piece. How many advanced, or how many rapid, or not rapid, response vehicles, paramedics can you get for $500,000 vehicles to respond?
Big picture, what about the optics? I think a lot of Winnipeggers are sick of hearing back and forth, firefighters and paramedics.
Absolutely.
What do you think of the optics of you lining up with the paramedics and them lining up with the firefighters?
You know, I would stand here with firefighters and say the same thing. They're welcome to come and join this solution. And I think some of them would stand out, but I think politics is what's creating the issues we have. And I think for the last 25 years in the city of Winnipeg, politics is what's hurting us. We have the right people to fix the city. We have the right people in the right job, but politicians get involved. And now we're in a marital race, and we have unions representing one candidate, not the other candidate. We have people promising this and people promising that, all because apparently it means a lot to get the endorsement of a certain group of people. Well, I am well aware I'm a politician. Now, whether or not I think it's the way that I would do things. Listen, that's a great question, Bartley. I got into this to change politics. That was one of my goals, because I didn't believe that the way we were managing the city and the resources that we had and the services that we provided to residents was being done right. And now I can see why. Politicians make decisions based on endorsements. I'm not basing that. I'm not asking for an endorsement. I'm not asking for the firefighters to change their mind. I met with the firefighters. I think a bunch of marital candidates met with the firefighters and heard what they wanted.
What was their ask?
You know, their ask was, I think that their ask was to remove paramedics from the fire stations. That was one of their objectives. I'll go on record with that. That might make them, I know that might make them upset, but that's the fact. And that's what we need at City Hall, is we need somebody who is going to admit the issues, and they're going to come forward and say, look, I can resolve it. Even after making a statement that firefighters may not like, or paramedics may not like, or police may not like, or unions may not like, I can resolve that. We need to sit down with these individuals. We need to sit down with all of them and make the city successful. That's what the problem is today. We're playing politics. We need to make the city successful. We have great firefighters. They can do certain things at emergencies today, but that's limited. A lot of people don't know that. It's limited to what they can do. They have to wait for an ambulance as well. So as Ryan mentioned, they have to wait hours for an ambulance. So it's taking 4 qualified professional firefighters off the streets when we could be utilizing them somewhere else. So I don't see this as a division. I don't see this as a hot potato, if you will. I see this as a smart solution.
One more question for you, Mr. Wood.
Go ahead, Barb.
Just on that front, please center yourself in front of me. What would you say in response to the fact that Klein just said the firefighters are asking politicians to split up the service?
Well, like I said, the politicians that I've spoken to is Kevin Klein. He's the one who gave me this idea.
I'm asking about the firefighter, United Firefighters of Winnipeg wanted to split up the service. Is that something MG 911 will want?
I can tell you this, what paramedics want, and I can only speak for paramedics, partly, not firefighters. You know I'm not part of UFFW. But as a paramedic on the street, I have friends that are both paramedics and firefighters, and I think what we're looking for is a solution to the infighting. Not necessarily an overall, let's get them out of the stations, because we all know that that may not be possible for reasons that you've just been told. There's a lot of money involved. But I think what paramedics and firefighters are looking for is a way to move forward from where we've been in the past. And it's possible. I think there are firefighters that would like to see paramedics removed from the halls. I think there are paramedics that would like to be removed from the halls. But what we're looking for is if that can't happen, who's got the next solution, Bartley? And right now what I'm hearing is Kevin Klein.
I'm just going to see if anybody else has any questions. We're good, because we are on a tight time frame.
I apologize for being late, and I thank you for waiting for me. That was more than not necessary, but I appreciate it.
Of course. We appreciate you guys all being here. Thank you. You guys?
You just jumped right in, Bart.